you don't understand the power of the dark side. But I do, so in today's video, I urge you to use my knowledge as I break down the most powerful dark side users in Star Wars canon. I say dark side users instead of Sith because there simply aren't that many Sith in canon, at least that we know of. However, the dark side itself has been wielded expertly by many Force users throughout the series. I will clarify that we're only focusing on Sith-like dark side users, if that makes sense, or more simply put, they will have a red lightsaber. So while Mother Talzin wields the dark side of the Force and is exceptionally powerful, I won't be including the likes of the Night Sisters in this list. So with that being said, from masters to apprentices and every death dealer in between, these are the most powerful dark side users in Star Wars canon. Alright, so I know I just said no Night Sisters, but Asajj Ventress is the exception to that rule. Asajj began her journey as a Night Sister, then a Jedi apprentice, but was eventually led to the dark side. As Count Dooku's apprentice, she became his assassin who would carry out various missions on his behalf. Throughout her journey, she would battle Jedi Masters like Aayla Secura, who was considered one of the Jedi Order's most skilled fighters, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker. According to Sidious, she and Dooku were growing so quickly in power that they would soon threaten his position as Sith Master, and he even considered her mastery in Jar Kai to be unparalleled. While we thought she met her end in a fierce battle against Count Dooku, she's apparently come back from the dead somehow, so she has the potential to become even more powerful despite no longer being a pure dark side user. In an era known as the High Republic, Dagan Gera served as a Jedi Knight, but eventually fell to the dark side. This was a time when the Jedi Order was at its pinnacle of strength. Even Yoda was at his most powerful during this time, and powerful Jedi like Porter Engle were alive and masters at this time. Dagan was esteemed as one of the most skilled warriors of the Jedi Order, and by the time of his ultimate confrontation, his power had fully returned to him. While he may not claim the title of strongest Jedi of the High Republic, he would likely be ranked slightly below revered figures like I mentioned earlier, Porter Engle, Yoda, and others like Avar Kriss and Elzar Mann. I think it's reasonable to compare him to the tier of Jedi just below those four that I mentioned. Among those esteemed in this tier stands Loden Greatstorm. Loden is similarly acknowledged as one of the greatest Jedi of the High Republic, a distinction that parallels the recognition of Dagan as one of the finest. Greatstorm was powerful enough to hold up entire mountains, which puts him at the same level of Clone War era Yoda. Not to mention, Loden easily was able to accomplish feats that characters like Asajj Ventress could not. So Dagan being around the same level, I think makes a lot of sense based on their various statements. Darth Tyrannus, more commonly known as Count Dooku, is a hard character to place. Some people have him at the level of Jedi Masters like Yoda and Mace Windu, while others consider him to be much weaker. Throughout the series, he's tested against Jedi Master after Jedi Master, casually slaughtering many throughout the Clone Wars as well. He's considered an expert duelist and is arguably the greatest of the age. His power is respected by the likes of Jedi Master Yoda, and he was feared by Sidious alongside Ventress. He may have been able to overthrow his master if Ventress was allowed to stay his assassin. When Ventress turned on him, he was able to fight off his former apprentice and her sisters while blind and in his pajamas. He survived an assassination attempt from Ventress again, but this time she had Darth Maul's brother Savage Opress with her, who was much more powerful than the other Night Sisters she brought along previously. Dooku was only ever truly beaten by Anakin Skywalker, but not just any Anakin Skywalker. Anakin had to tap into the dark side to overcome Count Dooku's extraordinary skill. While Dooku was beaten by Yoda, I think putting him over Dagan makes sense just because there are a lot more concrete feats that we can point to compared to Dagan Gera, who is placed at number 9 based off of a couple assumptions. Darth Momin was an ancient Sith artist who lived prior to the Rule of Two, but he was also a Dark Lord. Momin's power was immense, and after killing his master, he built a machine which he channeled the Force through that could freeze time indefinitely in a localized area. However, he was stopped by the Jedi of his age, and his machine was destroyed along with him and the entire city. After being resurrected, Momin dueled Darth Vader, who had surpassed the peak of power that Anakin had reached as a Jedi. After peering into Vader's past and knowing literally everything about him, Darth Momin was confident that he could defeat Darth Vader. And after dominating Vader for much of the fight, Momin was eventually overpowered and crushed to death after Vader found strength in the dark side to defy Lord Momin's fate. Darth Momin is above the likes of Darth Tyrannus because Momin fought a more powerful version of Anakin/Darth Vader than Count Dooku did, and he did much better than Count Dooku did in his fight, so it's pretty blatant that Darth Momin should be a step above Count Dooku. As a child, Darth Maul had more potential than his mother, who would go on to fight Jedi Master Mace Windu and then stalemate Darth Sidious in the Force. Sidious planned to have Maul be his apprentice forever. When he found Maul, he had no plans to replace him, and Sidious showed that by ensuring that Darth Maul was one of the most highly trained Sith in the history of the Order. While Darth Maul constantly lost duels in the series due to his overconfidence, we're talking about Darth Maul at his peak during the time of the Empire. The showrunner of Rebels gives us insight into Maul's power level at this time, stating Maul is a super dangerous threat. Because he has been trained for years, he's really adept, so he's kind of in the Vader realm. He's well trained by Sidious in all types of Sith ways. This statement puts Maul directly in the same space as Darth Vader's power and ability. Additionally, StarWars.com sheds more light on the difference between Maul and Ahsoka. Quote, Kanan agrees to split the group up, the logical choice pairing Maul with the weakest of the Jedi. This statement shows us that Darth Maul was considered the strongest of their group, as you would want the strongest member to be with the weakest. So by this time, Darth Maul is stronger than Ahsoka, who is shown on screen to be able to keep up with Darth Vader. During Rebels, Vader was considered to be in his prime, so scaling to Ahsoka and this version of Vader would put Maul above Momin, who lost to a weaker Darth Vader. Baylan Skoll was a former Jedi who survived the Purge and kinda sorta fell to the dark side. I think it's pretty clear that he and his apprentice do not operate in the light side, and since Grey Jedi just don't exist in Star Wars canon, I would consider them both to be dark side users. As we just spoke about, Ahsoka was in the same realm as Darth Vader during Rebels, but the New Republic era was long after their duel on Malachor, and Ahsoka had become much stronger in that time. So since Baylan easily defeated her multiple times, even after speaking with Anakin and sort of going through her Gandalf the Grey to Gandalf the White moment, Ahsoka still admitted that she didn't have a chance against him. I say this would definitively put Baylan above the likes of Empire-era Darth Maul. Exar Kun was an ancient Sith Lord who, like Momin, existed long before the Rule of Two was ever put in place. And bear with me here because there's really only like one image of Exum, quote unquote, so I'm going to use a bunch of just random Sith footage so you don't stare at the same picture the whole time. Anyway, Exum spent his time terrorizing his planet as its ruler. He would torture his subjects and increased his power by slaughtering thousands of them indiscriminately and absorbing their life forces. He was so powerful that he was able to imbue his life force into his mask, as Momin had done. Centuries later, he would take possession of an acolyte of the Beyond member known as Kiza. While possessing her, he would face Jedi Grandmaster Luke Skywalker. Exum's mere presence was able to weaken Luke, and if Kiza's body was strong enough to withstand Exum's full power, the two Masters of the Light and Dark would have clashed in an earth-shattering battle. However, Exum wasn't at full strength, and Luke was holding back to spare Kiza. It's a tough call on who would be more powerful. However, it is very clear that Luke is far beyond Ahsoka, who kind of admits as much during the New Republic era, so Exum should be above Baylan and Maul pretty easily. Darth Vader is literally the stick upon which the rest of the Star Wars universe is measured. A half-human, half-robotic killing machine, Darth Vader far surpassed the highest power level Anakin had ever attained as a Jedi Knight. Vader spent the majority of his life training, gathering power, and assembling forces to overthrow his master, Darth Sidious. Nearly every single day, Vader was tested in some manner. Whether that was his dedication to the dark side or his ability to destroy, Vader was tested nonetheless, and he usually passed with flying colors. He single-handedly destroyed many powerful Jedi Masters like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Seer Junda, as well as Sith rivals like Darth Momin. No one could measure up to the Dark Lord of the Sith. I could go on for hours listing off all of Darth Vader's feats of strengths, but we don't have the time here. But lucky for you, I have a 40-minute video breaking down just how powerful he is, and each month, new comics, novels, and guides come out, and Vader continues to grow stronger and stronger, gather more power to challenge Sidious. So while we know Darth Vader is near the top of the universe, we really don't know just how powerful he truly ended up becoming, but we will soon, as the comics are getting closer to Return of the Jedi. Darth Vader's legacy, Kylo Ren. The grandson of Anakin Skywalker was worthy to carry that name. Kylo was trained by Luke and is compared to Luke and Anakin's level of skill with the lightsaber. Being the son of Leia and the grandson of Anakin, he was an incredible Force prodigy. It's outright stated that Ben was Luke's most promising apprentice, even more so than Grogu, who the remnant of the Empire was convinced had the highest midichlorian count in the galaxy. When Ben was at the tender age of 16, Luke could feel the power radiating off of his nephew at all times and believed Ben would become as powerful as Luke was. After falling to the dark side, Kylo grew immensely in both power and skill. Snoke trained him to become a master of attack, and Sidious blatantly states that Snoke trained Kylo well. By the time of the sequel trilogy, Kylo was a fully fledged darkside user and had possibly already surpassed his grandfather's immense power, as well as his uncle. Polluting the Force is a very impressive feat. Only the most powerful Sith like Darth Vader, Sidious, and Exum were able to do this passively, meaning without exerting any effort. Kylo, Exum, and Vader are all so close that it is really just splitting hairs on who you think deserves the number 2 spot. However, there is a clear number 1. Darth Sidious is the granddaddy of all the Sith, the most powerful Sith in history, who could wield the literal power of all of those who came before him. With the power of all the Sith, it's no wonder he, at his peak, would be untouchable by anyone unrelated to the Skywalkers. Throughout his life, Sidious would seek out and hoard knowledge of the Force, keeping it from his apprentices to ensure that he could never be overthrown. After the decimation of the Jedi Order, Sidious was free to gather all of the knowledge of the Force that he could find. Doing so increased his understanding of the Force, and he became more and more powerful with each passing day. Vader attempted to defeat Sidious on multiple occasions, but Sidious proved to be the better duelist, and was stronger in the dark side than Vader could ever hope to be. To show Vader the gap in their power, Sidious revealed to his apprentice the power source of the Final Order, a massive kyber crystal which was being bled for years by Sith cultists. Sidious could control and wield this power, the literal power of 1,000 Death Stars. Meanwhile, those simply within Sidious's vicinity were burned up by his aura alone. There's no doubt that Darth Sidious is the most powerful dark side user in Star Wars canon. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry if you're butthurt about Disney characters being on the list or being high on the list. It is what it is. You clicked on a canon video, and I'm not going to lie to you about how powerful they are. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Remember to like and subscribe. It does really, really help us out. And remember the motto, it's the dark side over everything. And I'll see you guys next time.